Following along from the last tutorial where we created the event handler, today we'll be creating the command handler, which will also include subcommands. So first of all, we want to create an iCommand interface, and then iCommand options. Then we also want to do this for subcommand, so iSubcommand, then iSubcommand options. Now inside of the iCommand interface, we want to do export default interface iCommand, and in here we want to do client, custom client, name as a string, description as a string, and we want to do category, which we'll be creating an enum for. So for now we can actually just set this as a string so we don't get the error. Next of all, we can do options, which can just be an object, and default underscore member permissions. Make sure you spell it right or this won't work. And set that as a big int. And here do dm underscore permission as a bool. We want cooldown as number. And next for the methods, we want to do execute, interaction, then we want chat import command interaction, then we want to just return void. Then if we just copy this underneath it, we're going to change this to autocomplete and change this to autocomplete interaction. And there we go, that's it for the iCommand interface. Now instead of having category as a string in the base folder, we can create an enums folder. Then in here create category, we can spell, and then here export default enum category. Then in here for now we can just do utilities equals utilities. And then we're going to have to do export default underneath it and do category. Now in iCommand, if you go back to it and replace category string with category and import that, this means we'll be able to do category.utilities for the command or for the categories rather than manually typing them out. Now let's just copy this and go to the iCommands options, paste it in here, change the name, get rid of the client, and get rid of the two methods, then import category, and that's it for this interface. Now for the subcommand interface, in here we want to do export default interface iSubcommand, just like that. Then we want to do client again with custom client, then name as string, then in here we just also want to do execute and interaction, chat input command interaction, void, and just like that it's done. So we also just copy this and paste this into the iSubcommand options file and change the title, get rid of the client, get rid of the method, and there we go, that one's done. Now with all the interfaces created, we can start creating the classes. So go to the classes folder and create a class called command.ts, and then we want a class called subcommand.ts. In the command.ts, just start writing export default class command, then we want to implement iCommand. If we do control dot, it will add all of the variables and methods for us. We just want to get rid of the throw error. And now to get rid of this error up here, we want to do the constructor. So constructor, then we want to pass in custom client, then options as I command options. Just format that correctly. Next, we want to do dot client equals client. Now we want to specify all the command options. So this dot name equals options dot name. This dot description equals options dot description. This dot category. And I'm just going to go through all of these. Now we've done that, it's gotten rid of all the errors. So this should be good to go. So next we can go into the subcommand class and do export default subcommand implements I subcommand. Oh, I've spelled implements wrong. Oh, no, I didn't. Sorry, I forgot the class. So then if you do control dot add import, then control dot implement interface, then we want to get rid of this throw exception. And in the constructor again, we want to just do client, custom client. And then we just want to add this dot client equals client, this dot name equals, sorry, we need to pass in options to the constructor here. Then we can do this dot, no, options dot name. And there we go, that's the two classes done. So now we can go to the custom client interface and add two new properties to this class. So first of all, we want commands, which is a collection string command. Spell that correctly and import it. And we want to do the exact same thing for subcommands and change command to subcommand. Now we can go over to the custom client class and do control dot to implement the interface. So then we just want to move these to the top. And then we can just do this dot commands equals new collection, then this dot subcommands equals new collection. And before I forget, go back to the interface because we will also want to do a cooldowns, which will be a collection string collection string number, and do the same thing, implement the interface and do this dot cooldowns equals new collection. Now for loading the actual commands, we want to go to the iHandler interface and let's just add a load commands method. Like that, then go to the handler class, then implement the interface. Looks like it's not letting us, so let's just copy and paste this load events. Paste it there, then we want to change this to load commands. Then this file path, we want to do commands instead. Now for this, we want to do it as command or subcommand. Then make sure the imports are correct. And next we want to rename this to command. Then if there's not a command name, just do the exact same thing. But then now we want to do if file.split // dot pop, then question mark dot split dot 2, then just return this dot client dot subcommands dot set command dot name command. And we also can get rid of this const execute, and we can get rid of this here. Then for subcommands, it will get added to this collection, and then if it doesn't get added to that collection, we want to add it to the normal commands collection. And then we want to do as command, because we're checking if it is a subcommand here, so we know that it is a command here. Next, we want to go to custom client again, and in the load handlers method, we want to do this dot handler dot load commands, and there we go. So when we run the bot, it will go to the commands directory and find all the commands. Now next, we can go to the events folder, create a new folder called guild. In here, we want to create a file called command handler. Here we want to do export default class command handler implements event. Then if we do that, then we need to manually do the event import. So import event. Yeah, there we go. Now if we do control dot implement interface. Now in here we can do a constructor custom client, then super, and we want to do client. Then in here will be our options. So the name will be events.interaction create. The description can be whatever you want. I'm just going to do it command handler event. Then as once as false because we want to run this multiple times. And it looks like I need to do extends instead of implements. Then we can get rid of these variables at the top because they aren't needed. Now we can start implementing the execute method. So for our arguments, it's going to be interaction, which will be a chat input command interaction, and get rid of this throw new error. So firstly, we want to check if it is actually a chat input. So it's chat input command, and make sure that's a method, and if it's not, we want to return. First of all, do const command, just type command equals this dot client dot commands dot get interaction dot command name, and import command. And then if we just put an exclamation mark at the end, it will get rid of that error. Next, we're going to do if the command doesn't exist, we will return interaction.reply. Let's just do content. This command does not exist, epithermal true. And we also want to delete this from our commands. Delete interaction.command name. And then we want to just ts ignore this error. There we go. Next, we want to do our command cooldown. So const cooldowns equals this dot client. If command, cooldowns dot has command name. Then we want to set the cooldowns for the command. And we want to do new collection instead of map, like IntelliSense says. So next, we want to define the current date, so date.now. Then the timestamps. So equals cooldowns.get command name. And then the cooldown amount that we want, which will be the command.cooldown, then question mark, 3, or sorry, it would be as all 3 times 1,000, because we need this in milliseconds. Next of all, we want to do if timestamps dot has interaction dot user dot id and open brackets now is less than open brackets timestamps dot get interaction dot user dot id or 0 plus cooldown amount. Then we want to do return interaction dot reply. Then we want to reply with a embed. So embeds new embed builder. Then in here, let's set the color as red. Let's just format that correctly. Oh, don't do a semicolon. Set description. And then in the description, we can press Windows dot to get the emojis. And if we type in cross and select this red cross, there we go. Let's do please wait another. Then if we do this to get the correct formatting, the backslashes is making it a valid character in the string. If we open up a variable, do bracket timestamps dot get interaction dot user dot id or 0, then we will need to do plus cooldown amount. Then we want to wrap this in another pair of brackets. Then minus now, and wrap this in another pair of brackets, just so the order happens in the correct way. Then divide by 1,000, then wrap it in another pair of brackets, and 2 fixed, 1 to do it to 1 decimal place. Then seconds to run this command. Then we also want to respond as an epithermal command, so do comma epithermal true. Now to get rid of this error, it's because our return type is wrong, because we're saying we're returning nothing, when here we're doing return the interaction response. But to get rid of this simply, we can just get rid of void, so automatically determine the return type. Now I prefer doing it this way, because if we don't do it this way, we would have to do this on 2 commands, which then it just makes the code look a bit more ugly in my opinion. But you can do it that way if you prefer. So next we want to do timestamps.set interaction.user.id.now. Then set timeout. Then we want to do a lambda function and timestamps.delete. Then we want to delete the interaction.user.id after cooldown amount. Now for actually running the command, we want to just do a try catch, then just do ex in the try, or in the catch, sorry. And then the catch we can do console.error and just do the exception. Later on, we can make a better way to handle these, like logging into a Discord channel or into a database. Now, in the try, we want to do const subcommand group equals interaction dot options dot get subcommand group, and we want to pass in false, so it's not required. If you're wondering what this is for, it's so we can handle the subcommands properly. Next, we want to do const subcommand. Let me do consistent capitalization equals, and we want to put a variable interaction dot command name, and we want to do another variable subcommand group. Then if there is a subcommand group, we want to open bracket or open speech mark, sorry, do dot then subcommand group, and else we want to do nothing. Then after that we want to do dot and add another variable with interaction dot options dot subcommand. We want to pass in false as well, so it's not required. Then at the end you want to just do or nothing. And then this is just because we spelled the variable name wrong. So after this we want to just do return this.client dot subcommands. Then we want to try get the subcommand and then dot execute interaction, because we want to pass into the interaction to the command. And if that is not true, then we want to do or command dot execute interaction, which will execute it in the main command file rather than the subcommand file. And here we want to just change this to .get, because subcommands isn't a method, it is a collection. Now we can get on to actually creating the commands. So if we go to the source folder and create a new folder called commands, then let's create a file called test for now. And in this test file we can do export default class test. We want to extend, then we want to do command. And in here we will want to do a constructor. Then in the constructor do a super, but first of all in the constructor we want to pass in client as custom client. Then we want to pass in the super client, comma, then the options. So if we do that we can see all the options. So we need name. So let's just call this test. Description. My test command. And then we want to do category and category dot utilities. I have to do default member permissions, and instead of that we want to do permissions bit field flags, and then we want to do use application commands. The server owner will actually be able to change this to whatever they want, so beware of that. We want to do DM permission. This is self-explanatory. If you want the users to be able to use the commands in DMs, then leave it to true, but if not, set it to false. And then we've got cooldown left to do and options. So cooldown, we can set that to 3, so that's the default, and then options, It's just an empty object for now because we have no options for this. So now we can do the method. So execute. In here, interaction chat input command interaction. Then in here we can do interaction.reply. Let's do content test command has been ran. Then let's make this epithermal as well. And there we go. Now the last thing we need to do to run this command is go to our event and to our ready event. And then in here, we want to do const commands, then just set this to object array. Then in here, we want to do this dot get JSON, this dot client dot commands. This is because we need to format the JSON that we're sending to Discord because we don't want to send them like the client and everything else that isn't necessary. So let's create a method called private get JSON, then commands as a collection string command. Then if we just update the import, so in here do const data, which is an object array, which equals an empty object. Let's just add the command as reference as well. So commands.forEach command, and then we want to close that bracket first actually. And we want to data.push. Then we want to do the command name and the command description. Make sure you don't put this like my IntelliSense is doing. And then we want to do the options, command.options. And then finally, we want to do default member score permissions as command.default member permissions. Then we want to toString this because it only accepts a string. Then at last we want to do dm permission command.dm permission. Now that should be everything for that. So now let's see what's that. A void is not assignable to type object. So let's just set this return as object array. Oh, we need to return the data. Now to set the commands to your guild, what you want to firstly do is go to discord.com/developers, go into your app, go into the OAuth2 tab, and copy this client ID. Go back to Visual Studio. And next you want to go to the iConfig interface. And in here, let's add a field called Discord client ID as a string. Don't know what's that done there. So we've added that as a string. So in the config.json, want to do Discord client ID, then we paste that in there and make sure the capitalization's right, or otherwise it won't work. So now if we go back to our ready event, now from here we want to do const rest equals new rest from discord.js. Then here we want, on the rest class, we want to just do set token. Then we want to do this.client, this.client.config.token. Now we can do const set commands equals await rest.put. Then inside of this method, we want to do routes.applic. Oh, we need to import that first. So dot application command or guild command, sorry. And then we want to do this dot client dot config dot discord client ID. And then we want to do the guild ID. So if you go to Discord, make sure you got developer mode set in your profile, then right click on your server, copy server ID. Now go back to the iConfig interface. Let's just add this as guild ID, set it as a string. Then in the config.json, we want to set a field called guild ID, paste that in there. Then we go back to the ready event, and we just want to pass this into the method. So guild ID, and there we go. Now we need to pass in the body of this, but the body just needs to be the commands which we formatted in the getJSON method. Finally, we can just log the console, console.log, successfully set that many commands. And then if we just set that to any, then it won't complain. So now when we launch the bot, it should load the command into the Discord server. So if we do npm run start, we should see in this console successfully set 1 command. And there we go. So now if we go to Discord, and now if we type /, we see the tutorial in the top left, and we've got this test command. So if we run that, press enter, and there we go, we get the test command has been run. Now to test the command cooldowns, what we can do is do /test again, then quickly do /test after that. And there we go, please wait another 0.7 seconds to run this command, and now if we do it again, we should be able to. Now before ending this episode, I'll just quickly demonstrate how to use the subcommand handler as well. So in our test command, if we just create 2 subcommands like this, so we want to do the name as 1 and description as option 1 or whatever. Then as the type, you want to do application command type. Oh, that is not the right one. Application command option type, sorry. That's where I went wrong. Then as a subcommand. And then if we repeat this for the next one as well, let's call this 2. And now with the subcommand handler, what we can do is just copy these files. So let's rename this one to test.1 and rename this one to test.2. And make sure you name them correctly, unlike me. So in test.1, all you need to do is change this extends to subcommand instead. Then we don't need any of this information in here except the name. So in here we only do test.1, and then test1 command has been ran. Then we can get rid of these unnecessary imports. So that's all for this command, and let's just change the class title. And if we just copy and paste this into the test2, so let's change this to test2 import subcommand, change the name to test.2, change that to 2. Now what this will do, it will execute these methods inside of these classes instead of executing this method in here. So we can just comment this out now because we no longer need it. So if we Control C and restart the bot, we should still have one command. Then if we go to Discord and do /test, so we have test1 now. If we do test1, test1 command has been ran. Then if we do test2, test2 command has been ran. Then if we do them quickly after each other, you'll see the cooldown still work. And there we go. So that will be all for this episode, and in the next one we'll be going over how to do your global commands, so what your commands work in every guild your bot is in, and we will be going over the database as well. Thanks for watching.